Grand Theft Auto 5 from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a 2013 action-adventure game developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games. It is the 7th main entry in the Grand Theft Auto series, following 2008's Grand Theft Auto 4 and the 15th installment overall. Set within the fictional state of San Andreas, based on Southern California, the single-player story follows three protagonists: retired bank robber Michael DeSanta, by Ned Root, street gangster Franklin Clinton, Sean Fontano, and drug dealer and gun runner Trevor Phillips, by Stephen Ogg, and their attempts to commit heists while under pressure from a corrupt government agency and powerful criminals. Players freely roam San Andreas' open-world countryside and fictional city of Los Santos, based on Los Angeles. The game world is navigated on foot and by vehicle, from either a third-person or first-person perspective. Players control the protagonists throughout single-player and switch among them, both during and outside missions. The story is centered on the heist sequences, and many missions involve shooting and driving gameplay. A wanted system governs the aggression of law enforcement response to players who commit crimes. In Grand Theft Auto Online, the game's online multiplayer mode, up to 30 players engage in a variety of different cooperative and competitive game modes. Shared between many of Rockstar's studios worldwide, the game's development began around the time of Grand Theft Auto 4's release. The developers drew influence from many of their previous projects, such as Red Dead Redemption and Max Payne 3, and designed the game around three lead protagonists to innovate on the core structure of its predecessors. Much of the development work constituted the open world's creation, and several team members conducted field research around California to capture footage for the design team. The game's soundtrack features an original score composed by a team of producers who collaborated over several years. Grand Theft Auto 5 was released in September of 2013 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox and the Xbox 360. In November 2014 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and in April 2015 for Windows, and in March 2022 for the PlayStation and Xbox Series X and S. Extensively marketed and widely anticipated, the game broke industry sales records and became the fastest-selling entertainment product in history, earning $800 million in its first day and $1 billion in its first 3 days. It received critical acclaim with praise directed at its multiple protagonist design, open-world presentation, and gameplay. However, its depiction of violence and women caused controversies. Several gaming publications awarded the game year-end accolades, including Game of the Year awards, and in retrospect, it is considered one of the 7th and 8th generation console gaming's most significant titles, and among the best video games ever made. It is the second best-selling video game of all time, with almost 230 million copies shipped, and one of the most financially successful entertainment products of all time, with nearly $10 billion in worldwide revenue. Its successor, Grand Theft Auto 6, is scheduled to be released in November 2026. The gameplay of Grand Theft Auto 5 is an action-adventure game, played from either a third-person or first-person perspective. Players complete missions, linear scenarios with set objectives, to progress through the story. Outside of the missions, players may freely roam the open world, composed of the San Andreas open countryside area and its fictional Blaine County and the city of Los Santos. The world is much larger in area than early entries in the game, and it may be fully explored after the game's beginning without restriction, although story progress unlocks more gameplay content. Players use melee attacks, firearms, and explosives to fight enemies, and may run, jump, swim, or use vehicles to navigate the world. To accommodate the map size, the game introduces vehicle types absent in its predecessor game Grand Theft Auto 4, such as fixed-wing aircraft. In combat, auto-aim and a cover system may be used to assist against enemies. Should players take damage, their health meter will gradually regenerate to its halfway point. Players respawn at hospitals when their health depletes. If players commit crimes, law enforcement may respond as indicated by a wanted meter in the heads-up display. Stars displayed on the meter indicate the current wanted level. For example, at the maximum 5-star level, police helicopters and SWAT teams sworn to lethally dispatch players. Officers will search for players who leave the wanted vicinity. The meter enters a cooldown mode and eventually recedes when players are hidden from the officer's line of sight that displays on the minimap for a period of time. In the single-player mode, players control 3 characters: Michael DeSanta, Trevor Phillips, and Franklin Clinton, criminals whose stories interconnect as they complete missions. Some missions are completed with only one character, while others feature 2 or all 3. Outside the missions, players may switch between the characters at will by a directional compass on the HUD, although this feature is restricted at certain points during the story. During missions, characters may automatically switch to complete specific objectives. A character's compass avatar will flash red if he is in danger and needs help, and flash white if he has a strategic advantage. Though players complete missions with the protagonist, the more difficult heist missions require aid from AI-controlled accomplices with unique skill sets like computer hacking and driving. If an accomplice survives a successful heist, they take a cut from the cash reward and may be available for later missions with improvements to their unique skills. Some heists afford multiple strategies. In a hold-up mission, players may either stealthily subdue civilians with an incapacitating agent or conspicuously storm the venue with guns drawn. Each character has a set of 8 skills that represent their ability in specific areas, such as shooting and driving. Though skills improve through play, each character has a skill with expertise by default. Trevor's flying skill. The 8th special skill determines proficiency in an ability that is unique to each respective character. Michael enters bullet time in combat, Franklin slows down time while driving, and Trevor deals twice as much damage to enemies while taking half as much in combat. A meter on each character's HUD depletes when an ability is being used and regenerates when players perform skillful actions, for example, drifting in vehicles as Franklin or performing headshots as Michael. While free roaming the game world, players may engage in context-specific activities such as scuba diving and base jumping, and visit businesses such as cinemas and strip clubs. Each character has a smartphone for contacting friends, starting activities, and accessing an in-game internet. The internet lets players trade in stocks via stock market. The players may purchase properties such as garages and businesses, upgrade weapons and vehicles in each character's arsenal, and customize their appearance by purchasing outfits, haircuts, and tattoos. The plot of Grand Theft Auto V. In 2004, criminals Michael Townley, Trevor Phillips, and Brad Snyder partake in a failed robbery in Ludendorff, North Yankton, resulting in Michael being presumed dead. 9 years later, Michael lives with his family in the city of Los Santos under the alias Michael DeSanta, having made a secret agreement with Federal Investigation Bureau agent Dave Norton to stay hidden. Across town, gangbanger Franklin Clinton works for a corrupt car salesman and meets Michael while attempting to fraudulently repossess his son's car. The two later become friends. When Michael finds his wife sleeping with her tennis coach, he and Franklin chase the coach to a mansion, which Michael damages in anger. The owner, drug lord Martin Madrozo, demands monetary compensation, so Michael returns to a life of crime to obtain the funds, enlisting Franklin as an accomplice. With the help of Michael's old friend Lester Crest, a disabled hacker, they rob a jewelry store to pay off the debt. Meanwhile, Trevor, who lives in squalor in rural Blaine County, hears of the heist and recognizes Michael's work. Trevor had believed that FIB killed him in the Ludendorff heist. Trevor finds Michael and reunites with him, forcing the latter to reluctantly accept the former back into his life. As time goes on, the protagonist's lives spiral out of control. Michael's criminal behavior prompts his family to leave him. When he later becomes a movie producer, he comes into a conflict with Devin Weston, a billionaire venture capitalist and corporate raider, who attempts to shut down the studio. Michael thwarts his efforts and inadvertently kills his lawyer, to which Devin vows to revenge. Meanwhile, Franklin has to rescue his friend Lamar Davis from a rival gangbanger, Harold Stretch Joseph, who sets up and attempts to kill him multiple times. Concurrently, Trevor tries to consolidate his control over various black markets in Blaine County, waging war against the Lost Outlaw Motorcycle Club, Latino street gangs, and rival meth dealers, the private military company Merriweather, and triad kingpin Wei Cheng. Having broken his agreement with Dave by committing robberies again, Michael is coerced by him and his superior, Steve Haynes, to perform a series of operations alongside Franklin and Trevor to undermine the International Affairs Agency. Under Steve's direction, and with Ruster's help, they attack an armored car carrying funds for the IAA and steal an experimental nerve agent from an IAA lab. As Steve comes under increasing scrutiny, he forces Michael and Franklin to break into the FIB building and erase evidence against him from the servers. Michael takes the opportunity to wipe the data on his own activities, destroying Steve's leverage over him. After reconciling with his family, Michael starts planning his final heist with Trevor, Franklin, and Lester, raiding the Union Depository's gold bullion reserve. However, Trevor discovers that Brad was not imprisoned as he was led to believe, but killed during the Ludendorff heist, and buried in the grave marked for Michael. Deducing the heist was a setup, and that he was supposed to be killed in Brad's place, Trevor feels betrayed, and leaves Michael for dead during a shootout with Chang's henchmen. Although Franklin rescues Michael, Trevor's anger towards the latter causes friction within the group, and threatens to undermine their plans. Meanwhile, Steve attempts to arrest Michael, but they both, alongside Dave, become caught in the Mexican standoff between the FIB, the IAA, and Merriweather. Steve escapes while Michael and Dave are saved by Trevor, who believes only he has the right to kill Michael. The Union Depository heist is successful, but Franklin is afterwards approached by Steve and Dave, who contend that Trevor is a liability, and Devin, still seeking vengeance on Michael. Franklin has three options: kill Trevor, kill Michael, or attempt to save both in a suicide mission. Should Franklin choose to kill either Michael or Trevor, his relationship with the man he spares ceases, and he returns to his old life. Otherwise, the trio, aided by Lamar and Lester, withstand an onslaught from the FIB and Merriweather before going on to kill Chang, Stretch, Steve, and Devin. Michael and Trevor reconcile, and the three protagonists cease working together but remain friends. The development of Grand Theft Auto V. Rockstar North began to develop Grand Theft Auto V in 2008, around Grand Theft Auto 4's release. The development team totaled more than 1,000 people, including Rockstar North's core team and staff from parent company Rockstar Games Studios around the world. The proprietary Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, Rage, was overhauled for the game to improve its draw distance rendering capabilities. The Euphoria and Bullet software handle additional animation and rendering tasks. Having become familiar with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 hardware over time, Rockstar found that they were able to push the console's graphical capabilities further than in previous games. Analyst estimations place the game's combined development and marketing budget at more than £170 million, or $265 million US, which would make it the most expensive game ever made at the time. The open world was modeled on Southern California and Los Angeles, and its design and in-game render constituted much of the game's early work. Key members of the Game World production team took field research trips throughout the region and documented their research with photo and video footage. Google Maps projections of Los Angeles were used by the team to help design Los Santos road networks. To reflect and reproduce Los Angeles' demographic spread, the developers studied census data and watched documentaries about the city. The team considered creating the open world the most technically demanding aspect of the game's production. A fundamental design goal from the outset was to innovate on the series' core structure, by giving players control of 3 lead protagonists instead of 1. The idea was first raised during Grand Theft Auto San Andreas' development, but contemporaneous hardware restrictions made it infeasible. Having developed 2 Grand Theft Auto 4 episodic expansion packs featuring new protagonists in 2009, the team wanted to base Grand Theft Auto 5 around 3 simultaneously controlled protagonists. The team viewed it as a spiritual successor to many of their previous games, such as Grand Theft Auto 4, Red Dead Redemption, and Max Payne 3, and designed it to improve upon their gameplay mechanics. They sought to improve the action gameplay by refining the shooting mechanics and cover system, and reworking the driving mechanics to correct Grand Theft Auto 4's awkward vehicle controls. After an audition process, Ned Luke, Sean Fontano, and Stephen Ogg were selected to portray Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, respectively. Their performances were mostly recorded using motion capture technology, but dialogue for scenes with characters seated in vehicles was recorded in studios instead. The game's original score was composed by a team of producers who collaborated with several years. Licensed music provided by an in-game radio is also used. The team licensed more than 241 tracks shared between 15 radio stations, with an additional 2 stations providing talk radio. Some of the tracks were written specifically for the game, such as rapper and producer Flying Lotus's original work composed for the Fly Low FM radio station he hosts. The release of the Rockstar game was announced in 2005, the Rockstar Games announced the game on the 25th of October 2011. They released its debut trailer 1 week later, with an official press release acknowledging its setting. Journalists noted the widespread industry anticipation ignited by the announcement, which they owed to the series' cultural significance. The game missed its original projected Q2 2013 release date, pushed back to the 17th of September to allow for further polishing. To spur pre-order game sales, Rockstar collaborated with several retail outlets to make a special edition with extra in-game features. They ran a viral marketing strategy with a website for a fictional religious cult, the Epsilon program, that offered users the chance to feature in the game as members of the cult. A re-release of the game was announced for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One at E3 2014. This enhanced version features an increased draw distance, finer texture details, denser traffic, upgraded weather effects, and new wildlife and vegetation. It includes a new on-foot first-person view option, which required the development team to overhaul the animation system to accommodate first-person gameplay. The PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions were released on the 18th of November 2014. The PC version, initially scheduled for simultaneous release with the console versions, was delayed until the 14th of April 2015. According to Rockstar, it required extra development time for polish. The PC version is capable of 60 frames per second gameplay at 4K resolution, and the Rockstar editor lets players capture and edit gameplay videos. Plans to develop single-player downloadable content were later scrapped as the team focused resources on Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Redemption 2. After Grand Theft Auto 5 source code reportedly leaked online on the 24th of December 2023, possibly originating from members of Lapus data miners, found at least 8 sets of single-player DLC were in development but cancelled, including a Liberty City expansion. A new version, commonly referred to as Expanded and Enhanced, was announced in June 2020, released on the 15th of March 2022 for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. It features technical enhancements and performance updates. A trailer released for the new version in September 2021 was met with negativity, becoming one of the most disliked videos on PlayStation's YouTube channel. Journalists noted that fans were frustrated by Rockstar's continued focus on the game instead of other projects, such as a new Grand Theft Auto game. as well as lack of apparent new features demonstrated in the trailer. The PC version received the enhancements in a free update on the 4th of March, 2025. Grand Theft Auto Online was developed in tandem with the single-player mode. The online multiplayer mode, Grand Theft Auto Online, was conceived as a separate experience to be played in a continually evolving world. Up to 30 players freely roaming across the game world and enter lobbies to complete jobs. The content creator toolset lets players create their own parameters for custom jobs, like racetracks and deathmatch weapon spawn points. Players may band together in organized player teams called crews to complete jobs together. Rockstar Games Social Club extends crews formed in Max Payne's 3 multiplayer mode to those of Grand Theft Auto Online. Players may create their own crews and join up to 5 total. Crews win multiplayer matches to earn experience points and climb online leaderboards. Grand Theft Auto Online launched on the 1st of October 2013, 2 weeks after Grand Theft Auto V's release. Many players reported connection difficulties and game freezes during load screens. Rockstar released a technical patch on the 5th of October in an effort to resolve the issues. But problems persisted the second week as some players reported their character progress as having disappeared. Another technical patch was released on the 10th of October combating the issues. And Rockstar offered a GTA $500,000 in-game currency stimulus to the accounts of all players connected to online since launch as recompense. Because of the widespread technical issues present at launch, many reviewers bemoaned their Grand Theft Auto Online experience, but generally recognized it as open-ended exploration and dynamic content as strengths. Post-release content is continually added to Grand Theft Auto Online through free title updates. Some updates add new game modes and features, and others feature themed gameplay content such as the Independence Day special update that added patriotic-themed content on the 1st of July 2014. The widely anticipated online heists update launched on the 10th of March 2015 and suffered some initial technical difficulties due to the increased user load. Shortly after the game's PC release, some players reported being banned from Grand Theft Auto Online for using field of view and cosmetic mods in single-player. Rockstar stated in their official blog that nobody had been banned from online for using single-player mods, but that recent updates to the PC version had the unintentional effect of making such mods unplayable. They stated that mods are unauthorized and may cause unforeseen technical problems and instabilities. The reception at the initial release of Grand Theft Auto V received universal acclaim from critics, according to review aggregator Metacritic, based on 50 reviews for the PlayStation 3 version and 58 reviews for the Xbox 360 version. The game is Metacritic's 5th highest rated, tied with several others. Reviewers liked the multiple lead character formula, heist mission design, and presentation, but some did not agree on the quality of the story and characters. IGN called Grand Theft Auto V one of the very best video games ever made, and Play considered it generation-defining and exceptional. Edge wrote that it is a remarkable achievement in open-world design and storytelling, while the Daily Telegraph declared it a colossal feat of technical engineering. It became the second ever Western-developed game to be awarded a perfect score from the Japanese video game magazine Famitsu after The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. CNET felt that the game encouraged players to engage with all 3 characters. Edge found that switching players helped avoid long travel times to mission start points. Because of the switching mechanic, Game Informer noted that players are kept in the thick of the action during shootouts. Eurogamer wrote that switching added a tactical element to shootouts, as characters set up in strategic outposts would cause fewer shooting gallery situations than previous installments. IGN felt that the switching feature gave players more choice in their approach and made missions less predictable. Giant Bomb considered the heist missions a welcome deviation from series' typical mission structure. Eurogamer likened them to blockbuster set pieces, and GameSpot cited the 1995 film Heat as a stylistic influence on their design. Joystick felt creativity and methodical approaches were encouraged. Polygon likened rapid character switching during heist missions to film editing, with the player serving as editor, switching rapidly to the most interesting perspective for any moment. Computer and video games felt that the overall mission design was more diverse than and lacked the escort errands of its predecessors. Edge praised the game's graphical fidelity and absence of load screens. Play complemented the draw distances and rudder and lighting system. In Eurogamer's view, the lighting system was the game's most significant advancement. Official Xbox Magazine thought that the game was probably the best Xbox 360's greatest technical achievement, and was surprised that the open world could render in the console. Reviewers lauded the open world design and its streamlining of Los Angeles' geography into a well-designed city space. Game trailers consider the Los Angeles emulation authentic, and the open world full of voice and personality. IGN and PlayStation Official Magazine made favorable comparisons between Los Santos and Grand Theft Auto 4's Liberty City. The official Xbox Magazine felt Los Santos surpassed the gray and gritty Liberty City. Reviewers praised the world's satire of contemporary American culture, and the PlayStation Official Magazine opined that the scathing social commentary is of course present and correct. Destructoid called the sound design impeccable and praised the actors' performances, original soundtrack and licensed music use. IGN and Giant Bomb commended the music selection and felt that the original score enhanced dramatic tension during missions. GameSpot wrote that the score lends missions more cinematic flavor, and Edge said that the licensed music enhanced the city's already remarkable sense of space, and that the original score improved the atmosphere of the gameplay. They summarized the game as a compendium of everything Rockstar has learned about the power of game music in the past decade. Many reviewers found the land-based vehicles more responsive and easier to control than in previous games. Game Informer explained that cars have a proper sense of weight while retaining the agility necessary for navigating through traffic at high speeds. In addition to the vehicle handling, most reviewers noted that the shooting mechanics were tighter than they had been in previous games. But Destructoid felt that in spite of the improvements, auto-aim was twitchy and unreliable, and cover mechanics still come off as dated and unwieldy. Some reviewers felt the game solved a persistent problem by adding mid-mission checkpoints. The story and characters, particularly Trevor, polarized reviewers. Some found the narrative inferior to previous Rockstar games and cited Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption's plot strengths. Others thought the protagonist's contrasting personalities tightened the narrative's pacing. Games Radar thought the game negated the story inconsistencies and muddled morality of previous series entries. Trevor was considered a particularly horrible, terrifying, psychotic human being and a terrific character by GameSpot. Eurogamer found Trevor shallow and unconvincing, and that his eccentricities hurt the narrative and overshadowed Michael and Franklin's character development. Joystick faulted the protagonist's perceived lack of likability, as the conflict between Michael and Trevor grew into a seemingly endless cycle. The Escapist had difficulty connecting with the characters' emotions since they acted out of greed with no sense of morality and thus gave players little reason to support them. At the re-releases, Grand Theft Auto 5's re-release similarly received critical acclaim. It is the highest rated PlayStation 4 and Xbox One game on Metacritic alongside Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2, and the second highest rated PC game alongside several others. Game Informer considered the addition of first person another significant breakthrough for the series. In the vein of Grand Theft Auto 3's shift to third person from Grand Theft Auto's bird's eye view, the GameSpot found that playing in first person heightened the impact of Grand Theft Auto 5's violence, which made him reflect on morality and character motivation more than before. Videogamer.com opined that players feel like inhabitants of the world rather than guns attached to a floating camera. The first-person view, in IGN's opinion, aided immersion and created a surprisingly different experience. Videogamer.com praised the finer details in first-person animations like camera lean when players take corners on motorcycles or the navigational instruments in plane cockpits. Reviewers found playing the game more difficult in first person, but Game Informer preferred the challenge. GameSpot thought the improved graphics and spatial anti-aliasing made the open world even more spectacular. They said that in first person, everything looks bigger and more imposing. IGN favored the PlayStation 4 version's graphics over the Xbox One, but thought both consoles rendered the game well and maintained mostly consistent frame rates. They praised the increased frame rate and graphics options offered in the PC version. Videogamer.com called the console version's frame rate so consistent it was scarcely believable. Although GameSpot cited occasional frame rate dips, they opined that the PC version let players witness the full extent of Rockstar's admirable handiwork, but noted that They opined that the PC version let players witness the full extent of Rockstar's admirable handiwork, but noted that it retains evidence of its last-gen roots, with simple geometry. Videogamer.com praised the Rockstar editor's accessibility on PC, but criticized some of its limitations and camera angle restrictions. IGN appreciated the PC version's customizable controls, and GameSpot felt that constant switching between the mouse and keyboard and gamepad was necessary for the best experience. PC Gamer called the game the most beautiful, expansive, and generous of the series. On the game's multiplayer, IGN reported low player counts in matches, long wait times in lobbies, and server disconnection and occasional crashes. Because of that, they wrote, I can't strongly recommend the multiplayer experience alone. Videogamer.com found online character progression streamlined by comparison with the original version. According to them, the grind of just doing PvP until co-op jobs arrive with regularity was lost, and newcomers would likely find multiplayer enjoyable and balanced. However, they wrote of frequent server disconnection, especially during load screens. GameSpot thought the online mode was fun, but still suffers from a lack of direction, for its open-ended and frenetic gameplay. Game Informer reported minimal lag or issues in the expanded firefights and races. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series releases received tepid responses from critics, who questioned the value proposition of a new version of the aging title. While the improved visual fidelity and quicker loading times were singled out for praise, reviewers generally found the poor gameplay, storytelling, and character models faded. Hardcore Gamer thought the lack of new content made the upgrade difficult to recommend to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One players. Gaming Bolt was apathetic towards the visual enhancements, but praised the increased accessibility for online newcomers. UXVideo.com thought the release offered the supreme console experience and highlighted the improved graphics and load times. Push Square faulted the antiquated humor, but thought the visual and technical enhancements gave the sunny sandbox a new lease on life. Awards given to Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 received multiple nominations and awards from gaming publications. Before release, it won Most Anticipated Game at the 2012 Spike Video Game Awards. The game was reviewed aggregators. Metacritic and Game Rankings highest rated for the year 2013. The game appeared on several year-end lists of 2013's best games, receiving Game of the Year wins from independent journalist ComCheck, CNET, Edge, the 31st Golden Joystick Award, the 5th Annual Inside Gaming Awards, the Spike VGX 2013 Awards, Science Magazine, and Time. It was named the best Xbox game by Canada.com, GameSpot, and IGN. and the best multi-platform game by Destructoid. Rockstar Games and Rockstar North won Best Studio and Best Developer from Edge, and the BAFTA Academy Fellowship Award at the 10th British Academy Video Game Awards. Various in-game elements were recognized with awards. Trevor was named Best Character for the official Xbox Magazine's Game of the Year Awards 2013, while Lamar Davis won the Best New Character Award from Giant Dawn. The music received awards from Spike VGX, Hardcore Gamer, and the Daily Telegraph. Grand Theft Auto Online won Best Multiplayer from Game Trailers and BAFTA, and Best Xbox 360 Multiplayer from IGN. Online was also nominated for Biggest Disappointment by Game Revolution and Hardcore Gamer. Grand Theft Auto V won Best Technical Achievement in Telegraph Video Game Awards and Best Technology at the 14th Annual Game Developers Choice Awards. The graphical and artistic design received awards from IGN, the Daily Telegraph, and BAFTA, and a nomination at the Game Developers Choice Awards. The Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences awarded the game with Outstanding Achievement in Gameplay Engineering, signifying the highest level achievement for engineering artificial intelligence and deleted elements which contribute to a challenging game. The game received numerous other awards. It was awarded the title of Most Immersive Game at the Inside Gaming Award. The general public voted for the game to win the User Choice Award at the PlayStation Awards 2013 and the Community Choice Award from Destructoid. The game received the Platinum Award at the PlayStation Awards and was named the Best British Game from BAFTA. At IGN's Best of 2013 awards, it earned multiple wins, including Best Xbox 360 Graphics, Best Xbox 360 Sound, and the Best Action Game on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and overall. Grand Theft Auto V has a few controversies. The mission by the book, which requires players to use torture equipment in a hostage interrogation, unsettled reviewers. They noted its political commentary on the use of torture by the United States government, but found the sequence to be in poor taste. GameSpot felt that placing the torture scene in context with an analogous monologue from Trevor created a hypocrisy in the mission's function as a commentary device. Eurogamer felt the close-up camera and quick-time events accentuated the sequence's impact beyond the violence depicted in previous Grand Theft Auto games, and considered the sequence lacking enough context to justify its violence. The mission received criticism from politicians and anti-torture charity groups. Independent journalist Tom Chick defended the torture scene and wrote that unlike Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, No Russian Mission, or the 2012 film Zero Dark 30, the underlying political commentary on torture in By the Book necessitated the violent content. The torture gameplay was cut from the Japanese release. Several reviewers found the game's portrayal of women misogynistic. VG247 wrote the female characters were either there to be rescued, shouted at, fucked, or to be seen fucking, put up with, killed, heard, prattling away like dullards on their mobile phones or shopping. Edge noted the game treated its all-male lead characters in a similar vein through their stereotypic tendencies towards violence. After GameSpot's Carolyn Petit claimed the game was misogynistic, her review was met with backlash as users responded with 20,000 largely negative comments on the webpage and a Change.org petition for her firing. Many journalists defended her right to an opinion and lamented the gaming community's defensiveness towards criticism. Australian stores Target and Kmart pulled the game from their stores in December 2014 after a Change.org petition against depictions of violence towards women in the game amassed over 40,000 signatures. Take-Two Interactive Chief Operating Officer Strauss Zelnick publicly expressed the company's disappointment that the game had been pulled from their retailers, and affirmed that he stands behind our products, people who create them, and the consumers who play them. IGN called the Change.org petition misinformed, stating that its complaints about incentives for committing sexual violence in the game are untrue. Sexual violence in games is forbidden by the Australian Classification Board, meaning the game would have been refused classification. Kotaku said that the depiction of women is inherently problematic, and that Target were within their rights to refuse to stock the game and were obligated to respond to the petition's wide support. Petit, the writing for Kotaku, and online anti-harassment activist Ben Tolliver criticized the game's depiction of transgender characters as sex workers with primarily muscular bodies, describing it as harmful transphobic stereotypes. Tolliver wrote that the representation does not reflect the complex, nuanced structures that often regulate transgender people's lives. The April 2022 re-release on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S removed the content from all portions of the game except Director Mode, meaning that their models are accessible but without dialogue options. Some journalists recognize the removal may have been prompted by an open letter written by the LGBTQ+ advocacy group Out Making Games, who requested the removal after reading Petit's article. The group praised Rockstar's decision to remove the content. In October 2013, rapper Daz Dillinger issued a cease and desist letter to Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive for allegedly using two of his songs without authorization. In February 2014, television personality Karen Gravano of the reality television program Mob Lives filed suit against Rockstar Games, an allegation that a character in the game is based on her likeness and story and was depicted without her consent. Rockstar filed to dismiss Gravano's lawsuit in April and stated that the allegations are foreclosed by the First Amendment. In July, actress Lindsay Lohan filed a lawsuit claiming elements in the game, including the Lacey Jonas character, were influenced by her image, voice, and clothing line without permission. Rockstar responded in court papers that sought a dismissal of the case, saying that the case was frivolous and filed for publicity purposes. In 2016, both lawsuits were dismissed. Grand Theft Auto 5 and its sales. Within 24 hours of its release, Grand Theft Auto 5 generated more than $815 million in worldwide revenue, equating to approximately 11.21 million copies sold for Take-Two Interactive. The numbers nearly doubled analysts' expectations for the title. 3 days after its release, the game had surpassed $1 billion in sales, making it the fastest-selling entertainment product in history. 6 weeks after its release, Rockstar had shipped nearly 29 million copies of the game to retailers, exceeding the lifetime figures of Grand Theft Auto 4. On the 7th of October 2013, the game became the best-selling digital release on PlayStation Store for PlayStation 3, breaking the previous record set by The Last of Us, though numerical sales figures were not disclosed. It broke 7 Guinness World Records on the 8th of October for best-selling video game in 24 hours, best-selling action-adventure video game in 24 hours, highest-grossing video game in 24 hours, fastest entertainment property to gross $1 billion, fastest video game to gross $1 billion, highest revenue generated by an entertainment product in 24 hours, and most viewed trailer for an action-adventure video game. A digital version was released on the 18th of October for the Xbox 360, which went on to become the highest-grossing Day 1 and Week 1 release on Xbox Live. By May 2014, the game had generated nearly $1.98 billion in revenue. As of August 2014, the game had sold in over 34 million units to retailers for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. By December 2014, the game had shipped 45 million copies, including 10 million copies of the re-released version. By April 2018, MarketWatch reported the game had generated about $6 billion, and was the most profitable entertainment product of all time. It had nearly sold around 100 million copies by July 2018, and by July 2021, it had shipped over 150 million copies. More copies were sold in 2020 than any other year since the game's launch in 2013, and by late 2023, Barron's reported the game's lifetime revenue figures had increased to $8.5 billion, consistently generating over $500 million annually, with about 22 million monthly active players. By March 2026, the game had shipped almost 230 million copies worldwide across all platforms. And in May 2025, The Hindu reported that the game had generated nearly $10 billion in revenue since its release. In the United Kingdom, the game became the all-time fastest-selling game, selling more than 2.25 million copies in 5 days. This broke the record set by Call of Duty Black Ops at 2 million copies over the same period. It broke the day one record by selling 1.57 million copies and generating £65 million. In 2 weeks, the game sold more than 2.6 million copies and generated £90 million, which accounted for 52% of games sold in September 2013. After 3 weeks on sale, it beat Grand Theft Auto 4's lifetime sales in the United Kingdom. In its 4th week, it became the fastest-selling title to break the 3 million barrier in the UK, thus overtaking Black Ops 2's lifetime sales. In November 2014, the game became the best-selling game of all time in the UK, overtaking Black Ops. The game was similarly successful in North America. It was the best-selling game in September, representing over 50% of software sales, and boosting overall software sales by 52% compared to September 2012. The legacy of Grand Theft Auto 5. Critics agreed that Grand Theft Auto 5 was among 7th-generation consoles gaming's best, and a great closing title before the 8th generation's emergence. Polygon observed that the game would bridge between games present and the future, and declared it the closure of this generation and the benchmark for the next. Kyle Prahl of United States PlayStation Universal felt that the game declared it Critics agreed that Grand Theft Auto 5 was among the 7th-generation consoles gaming's best, and a great closing title before the 8th generation's emergence. Polygon observed that the game would bridge between games present and the future, and declared it the closure of this generation and the benchmark for the next. Kyle Prahl of PlayStation Universe felt that the game gives this console generation the send-off it deserves, and Videogamer.com considered it the ultimate swan song for this console cycle that would cast a long shadow over the next. 3 days after its release, the game ranked second on IGN's Top 25 Xbox 360 games list. They considered that the open world scale and detail succeeded the majority of other 360 games. They called the game a triumph both for gamers and for the medium itself, and it deserves its runaway success. In November 2013, Hardcore Gamer placed the game third on their top 100 games of the generation list. They cited its improved shooting and driving mechanics over its predecessors, and considered the multiple protagonist design a welcome change of pace that could become an 8th generation gaming benchmark. In December, the Daily Telegraph listed the game among the 50 best games of the console generation. They called it a cultural behemoth that will be Rockstar's lasting legacy. In January 2014, the Computer and Video Games ranked the game fourth on their Games of the Generation list. They said that for the first time, Rockstar created an utterly beautiful open world. They found that the game did away with Grand Theft Auto 4's repetitive mission design and focused instead on fun gameplay. In May, IGN ranked it 8th on their top 100 games of the generation list, and called it a huge, raucous, and wildly ambitious bridge towards the 8th generation of console gaming. The next month, it placed third on IGN's Games of Generation, their top 100 list, as voted by the site's readers. In August, Game Informer ranked it third on their top 100 action games of the generation list. They compared the game's quality to that of its predecessor, but thought that its ensemble character setup, varied missions, and multiplayer superseded Grand Theft Auto 4's replacement on the list. They wrote of the story's absurd drama and the open world's vastness, and did not regret a single second spent playing the game. In November, Edge named it the fifth best game of its generation and commented that no other game studio is even daring to attempt an open world game in its tradition because there is simply no possibility of measuring up to its standards. In 2015, the publication rated it the second greatest video game of all time. The game ranked high on several best games lists determined by the public. It featured 8th on Empire's 100 greatest video games of all time list, and 5th on Good Games' top 100 games list. As voted by the magazine and program's respective audiences, Grand Theft Auto 5 was the most tweeted game of 2015, despite being re-released over a year earlier. In 2025, Rolling Stone ranked it the third best game, citing its profound effect on the medium. According to Circana Senior Director Matt Piscatella, the game was the third most played game on PlayStation in the United States in both 2024 and 2025. Development of Grand Theft Auto 6 was confirmed by Rockstar in February 2022. The game was formally revealed in December 2023 and is currently scheduled to be released in November 2026. The game was used in a study by GTA 5 was also used in research, as the game was used in a study by Intel Labs where they presented an approach for enhancing its graphics using neural networks. Reports in 2026 indicated that Ukrainian drone operators used the game to help simulate navigation and targeting in urban environments.